A very special welcome to Untengle. I want to say a very special morning to you, Richie P. and the Up and Go crew. You all have yourselves a wonderful day. And as usual, thank you so very much for joining us here on Untengle. Thank you very much for joining us on the Bridge 99 FM. And a very special morning to you all, and a very special morning to Team Untengle. Morning again, Jordan.
Good morning.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm very well, thanks. Give God thanks. All right. So I know that you're a graduate of the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. I'm not going to shoot along something every time I say, so I'm going to just say Edna Manley College, all right? So I know that you're a graduate and all these things. Was this your passion from early, even as early as birth?
So as early as primary school, I usually like doodling the back of the book or on the top, wherever, and I would have problems with like teachers and my parents, And it was there. From there, I realized that I really loved the art, especially at that time. It was about mostly animations, like Goku or something of that sort, and I would try to recreate those things. So yeah, it was there from a very, very early age. And I must add that my father is also an artist, somewhat.
So it's a family tradition. Your father passed it on to you.
That is it. But
okay,
yeah.
Wonderful. That's all. You know what I've always wondered, Jordan. Is an artist born, or can you acquire or develop the skill to draw?
I think it's both.
I love that.
Yeah. So
explain.
One can have that innate skill and one can learn it. But I guess with the one that learns it, it's a bit more difficult, whereas the person who has it innately, it comes readily.
Of it's there.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So let us talk about fine art, because you are a fine artist. Describe a fine artist for us.
A fine artist is one who goes above and beyond in terms of research to tackle issues that they see fit. So most artists, they tackle social issues, political issues, or economical issues. On that basis, I would say it's more in depth than whereas a regular artist. So you do extensive research. You go out in the field oftentimes just to get extra information, and then what you try to do is based on knowledge that you've gathered from, tertiary institutions. You then apply those things and then try to bring one attention to the pressing issue at hand.
About certain issues, and we're definitely going to talk about that later on. But let us talk about how you express your fine art. How do you?
Okay. So for me, my work is just, I guess, a beacon to some extent to shed light on a pressing topic that I chose to address, which is the psychological trauma of male rape. My works are usually vibrant, so this is done with the intention to first capture the viewer, and then after the viewer is captured, pretty much their attention is captured, then the information that I choose to, present to them slowly becomes more evident.
Right. It's interesting that you're talking about art and the psychology of art and how art in turn helps us psychologically. And you spoke particularly about male rape. We're going to come back to that. But before we do, you have been conducting weekly artistic workshops at the Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital. How did this idea come about, and how did it manifest?
Okay, so this was through the Ruby's Impulse art program. So I'm currently the project assistant there. I was also a scholarship recipient. So they had some connections with Bellevue, and based on my, expertise per se. They wanted me to start or reignite a program there because they had a program there before, but for some reason it had ceased for a moment. So they had invited me there to see how well I could, pass on my knowledge that I've gathered over the years towards the individuals at the institution.
Oh,
And during that time period, they realized that, you know, one, they took a liking to me, and it was evident that the works that they were doing improved over time based on the information that I was passing on.
when you say based on the information that you were passing on, their work improved in time, go a little deeper into that for us.
Okay, so that it's pretty simple. It's in terms of technique, information as it per se, art history. So I would normally introduce them to like previous artists throughout the years who have created works that are deemed great works, and I've shown them examples and pretty much guided their artistic direction. Yeah.
Right. All right. So while you have been there with them, guiding them along artistically and creatively, have you noticed any change behaviorally, or such a word? Have you noticed any change in their behavior, or have you noticed any changes in how their mind works?
Yeah, for sure. Now, it was quite evident in a few other patients there. So there were at least two or three individuals who I realized that their behaviors kind of shifted a bit. So at first they were all over the place. They could not concentrate as much. But over the time period, they become more attentive. They were more excited to, start the weekly workshops. Despite even them like being on the medication, because sometimes what the medication does is forces them to sleep somewhat because they become drowsy. So even under that, they try to put out their best. So it was quite evident that the art was improving their attention per se as regards
Right, right.
art.
Okay, let's come right into to what you describe as the artist statement. And before we ask you the question, let me just read a little bit of the information that we have about the artist statement. And let me find it first of all, and then I read a little bit of it. For wow, these murals are beautiful. Did you bring any of those murals, or no? You did. So we are going to show some of those murals on the screen on our bridge monitor. All right, so the artist statement goes: my works are geared mostly towards social, economic, and political issues that are often avoided by members of society. A current topic that is addressed within my works is the rape of males and the psychological implications that emerge from the traumatic events. This is this is very deep. First of all, let me ask you, why? When I say why, I don't mean how come. I just mean take us through the inspiration and how this is now a passion of yours.
Okay, simply put, it's because I saw the need for it. So it all started in my final year of college. I was doing a bit of research as to what topic I would address, and it was one of the things that came up. But during research, I realized that there was a lot of content about females getting raped, but there was one particular one that caught my attention. There was one about males. So I was like, is this even possible? Because based on our societal understanding of males, they are not as susceptible to rape. So I further dwelled into that, and it was very, very terrifying to say the least. Based on how these individuals were intruded, and it does set a spark, because even after researching, I realized that the even in the laws that regulate our country currently, they don't really facilitate, male rape.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to pretty much advocate for all of that because really and truly it acts as a deterrent for individuals who have been raped, males who have been raped, to come forward and speak
Right.
up because they'll be chastised or chastised by
Right.
society.
I'm hearing you, Jordan, but you're breaking up a bit. I don't know if you want to either go closer to the mic or what. But what I must say, I must commend you on singling out this very difficult conversation to have. You hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
I want to commend you on being brave enough to single out this kind of conversation, because like you said, especially in our culture, we don't talk about things like that. So what have you found to be some of the psychological effects on males or men who have been raped?
So, one, there's an increase in terms of suicide attempts because of this. Because one, they don't have much facilities to accommodate them, and they're not encouraged enough, I think, to come out, speak out about all these things. Two, it affects them psychologically. So, because they're unable to their experience somehow manage to, I guess, project that energy or that anger elsewhere. So it also increase like crime and all those other stuff.
So obviously you would find that, just like what she says, there's a lot of built up anger inside individuals like that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're not going to shy away from this topic. We need to talk about it because we realize that it's a passion of yours and it is not something we discuss as much as we should. So when we come back, I'm going to be asking you about how do you translate this passion and this information that you have gotten from your research into art.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. And we have as our very special guest Jordan Harrison, who is a fine artist and so many other things. You're a very busy artist, you are, Jordan. So we're talking about male rape and the fact that it can have obviously a devastating psychological effects on any individual, as would any rape. But the difference is that we don't speak about it. So tell me now, Jordan, how do you translate the agony of and pain of someone who goes through that on canvas?
Okay, so what I'll do is use visual metaphors and iconography to demonstrate all of this. So some previous works I would take reference from Greek mythologies. So that included like statues of Zeus and included like a Parthenon and the Colosseum, all of which are, I think, is the peak of masculinity. And what I'll do is to break them down in such a way that it states clearly what this psychological implication does to one in the one's mindset. As I said before, the colors are normally vibrant, so it's based on what I've gathered over the years. We as human beings were naturally attracted to vibrant, pretty colors. So it's of my intent to use that approach to reel in viewers, and then from there I'd have all those information unwrapped slowly. So even within the piece, you have a few texts that are written in Greek. So what this does, it sparks interest. So I've heard multiple individuals who have taken looks at my work, come back several times over, and said each time they see my work, they see something different, and it's really captivating because the things I've hidden in the paintings, it's similar to how someone who has been a victim of rape normally does. So that's pretty much how I guess I transfer all of that. The intention is not to force feed the onlooking viewers. It's just to help spark that conversation about the whole event of rape and all of that.
So when you do a picture like that, with subliminal messages as you described, and messages that unravel slowly, do people actually get it, even if it's slowly?
Yes, they actually do. They do. So there's, as I said before, there's just enough information there for them to wonder. So each time they look at it, they wonder. There are also things there that will force them to do like further research, and in doing the research they realize that, oh, this is it. All right, so a few iconography that I used, as I mentioned before, was one that was used in the medieval time, was a instrument called the Pair of Anguish, and what this tool was used to do was to pretty much silent individuals. So I used that as a metaphor to state how society and our norms
Hello? You're breaking up again.
Okay. All right. You hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Some as the
Breaking up again. Breaking up again. I don't know what you shifting or something, but try again.
you hear me now?
Yeah. Let me say so, let me stop hear you. So go and talk and see if me hear you know for true.
Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is that I use iconography such as the medieval instrument called the Pair of Anguish to state how society has pretty much silent male individuals based on their idea of masculinity. The Pair of Anguish back then was used to silent individuals, so it was inserted into the mouth of the person, and then it was turned until it opened, and it would dislocate the jaw and rendering them speechless. So those are a few items that I've inserted, some of which are massive, so you can't miss them. It's just that they were done in such a way that it's still pleasing aesthetically.
Okay. I'm thinking to myself. You mentioned the phrases unraveling slowly, pique curiosity, and hidden messages. As an artist, what is more satisfying for you? Someone who gets your work immediately, or someone who is so intrigued that over time they find their own meaning to your work?
I would have to say the latter. I think it's more important because even great artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Pablo Picasso, if we look at their works, we see over time that there were certain things, certain techniques, overall the approach that they took that marvels us because it does jump out at you. I think as a great artist, it's our duty to create works that is impactful, but it is not too forceful per se in terms of spoon feeding the onlooker, because at times I think that can be read differently. So if we create works that allows the viewer to find or formulate their own interpretation, I think that adds more to the work.
Well said, very well said. So, okay, so spoon feeding the onlooker is a very interesting way to put it, and I get it. I get it very clearly because we can have a piece of art, even let us say one of your murals in Kingston, and there are 5 people looking at the mural, and we see 5 or 5 totally different images are highlighted in our minds.
Exactly.
All right, so let us talk murals because it seems as though this is another one of your passions. All right, so let's talk about being commissioned, like how Sagicor commissioned you to do a mural. Let's talk about being commissioned to do a mural. What are your first thoughts when someone commissions you to do a mural?
All right, so the first thought is pretty much to research the client, pretty much find out what their business is about and ensure that the mural aligns to what they're about. So usually they give us a prompt as to what they have in mind, and from there we will, I guess, use our creativity and work it as best as possible to see how much we can please them. Uh, the thing with commission pieces, they are a bit rigid per se. So with some of the individuals are some of the individuals they require a set thing, so they know what they have in mind, and there's little room for like creativity per se. But otherwise, it's great.
I guess a mural like the one at Sabina Park would be a little rigid.
Um, to some extent, yes, I would say, because yes, that mural is to pretty much portray famous cricketers throughout our lifetime who has contributed significantly to the sport. So the way we were allowed to I guess edit creatively, sorry, is through symbolic representations of like Adinka symbols in the background. So most individuals would pass it and see these colorful, well, blue imagery of I guess objects per se, and would not know what it is. But for those who know, they realize that each Adinka symbol that was used represents something. It represents the characteristic of the individual that we painted.
Perhaps one of your creative ways of going around this rigidity that you speak about.
Exactly.
Loud and clear. All right, so let us talk about a commission that is not as rigid. I don't know, Raytown. Let's talk about that.
All right. I wouldn't necessarily say Raytown mural. I would say the Kingston Creative mural or the Church Street mural. The Raytown mural was a piece commissioned by Ray and Nephew, and they, as I stated before, they knew what they had in mind. So it was.
You can see our monitor. Okay, for those who are looking at our monitor, there is a J Real Nephew bottle turned on its side. Is that one? Okay, all right. So that one was commissioned.
Yeah.
All right. So
the wall is really big, so I couldn't get a great picture of the entire wall. So I took a section. So the piece is mostly about culture and music, along with the branding of Ryaneville per se.
Okay, let's talk about a mural now that you describe as fluid, as a mural that you can actually express your creativity.
Yeah, so one of them is Lee Scratch Perry mural. So I was given complete freedom in terms of creativity to create that one. As you can see, it's the one with the blue across the face.
Yes.
So it's I guess in my opinion it's more creative per se. So I get to use the imagery, colors differently.
Right. I saw that mural. There it is on our bridge monitor right there. And you took this from a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm looking at it, and for those who are looking at it, I see so many different people. I see Lee Scratch Perry, but I also see other people. When someone comes to you and says to you, Jordan, could you interpret that piece of work for me? Where does that leave you?
In terms of interpretation, it was just done in such a way to, I guess, immortalize Lee Scratch Perry in all his greatness. I wanted to display what he was, this vibrant individual who, was willing and able to assist as best as possible.
Okay. All right. As we wind up this interview now, a very interesting interview, and I'm sure for those who are listening, we have another perspective. And each artist brings their own perspective. What is it that you would like to leave with us, Jordan, in terms of who you are as a person and how you express yourself through fine art? Something that we have not discussed, that we don't know about you.
Okay. For me, I've been looking at art, well, especially mural art in Jamaica, and I've myself and a few others see the need to push the boundaries, because we realized that the works here, they're okay, but I think we have the capability to do great works that can match international level. So it's always pushing the boundary for me, really and truly. Doing research, finding creative ways to bring out ideas per se, and overall to just lift the standards.
A wonderful way to close. And may I say to you that not just in art, but just in the way life presents itself, sometimes we just have to push those boundaries.
Exactly. And also enjoy while doing it.
Exactly. Because, without us taking that deeper dive, which is just the same old, same old.
Exactly. And like our cycle.
Yes, yes. Wonderful talking to you, Jordan. And for those who want to have copies of your work, for those who want to see your work, how can we?
Okay, you can follow my Instagram. It's JJHarrison94, and the other Instagram is onejar_.
Okay, so we're going to repeat that on our program. We're going to ask LaFane to just remind me of all of that. We're going to repeat it, and trust me, this was just an amazing conversation with a young fine artist, and I see where you are pushing the boundaries. You have pushed the boundaries. Continue to do so.
All right, thank you.
Most welcome. Wow, what an interesting conversation. What an interesting young man. Jordan Harrison is his name, and he's more than just a fine artist. He's using his work to make statements about topics that are not necessarily spoken about, to have conversations on canvas about things that we shy away from, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And perhaps we need to go back downtown and look at some of the work that he has done, now that we know who he is, and know that we have heard him express himself and tell us who he is. We can look at Sabina Park, we can look at Raytown, we can take a look at the mural at Haile Selassie High. You heard him particularly mentioning the one on East Street. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah man, nice. I know we have. Okay, Carib Cement, yes, same way, so producer, nice. So yeah man, sweet, we're loving it. So welcome to Untengle on the bridge.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be on the bridge,
Yes, you're always on the bridge. You're part of the Bridge Nation.
Yeah, man, always on the bridge, man. We never left on the bridge because, the bridge is always bridging the gap, bridging that generation, bridging information and that unity. So we have to be a part of unity.
You are very well known for your poetry. In fact, the poetry that you deliver is something that a lot of people identify with without any doubt. It seems to me that your topics are usually about community, like the one that we just played, and you also have a passion for peace and love, and you do a lot of poems about crime and fighting crime and that kind of thing. Am I right in that a lot of your poems are like these themes?
You have summed it up. You have summed it up, and that is my core interest. Yeah, and I've always found myself, being a part of wanting to be a solution, because it all stems from where I was born. Yeah, my place of birth is Kingston, Jamaica, Victoria Jubilee. Yeah, and my early childhood is in the inner city space, in Concrete Jungle, Arnett Gardens, Jonestown, Craigtown, all of these places, So the thing that I saw from an early age, and I also wanted to become a part of what I was seeing, because that was my environment, not knowing that what I wanted to be a part of was harmful and destructive. But as time went by, and as I grew, and as I got an opportunity to migrate, I call it migrate to rural Jamaica, St. Elizabeth to be specific, Santa Cruz, and getting an opportunity to be in a different space, I realized that, that space began, redirecting me away from wanting to be a part of crime and violence. So hence, I could not, really realistically find myself, contributing to violence and crime and all of that. So hence I choose this to be my life mission. So whatever problem I see within my community, within my country and world over, I am going to lend my voice, the voice which the Almighty God has given to me as a gift, to also be a gift unto mankind.
Talk about migrating to rural Jamaica. I love how you put it, because it was indeed a migration. And you speak very fondly of your alma mater, STETS, St. Andrew Technical High. No, I mean St. Elizabeth. Sorry, my dear. What a mistake me go make. St. Elizabeth Technical High. Let's talk about your migration to St. Elizabeth and how did it affect or contribute to the person who we know today?
Well, as I say, migrating to St. Elizabeth, because I'm a dual citizen, I consider myself as a dual citizen. I'm a Kingston and a St. Elizabeth man, a countryman. And getting that opportunity, to have both the city and rural Jamaica, it gives you that balance. It gives you that perspective where you can think out things on different level. You can communicate with people on different level. Yeah. And when I went to St. Elizabeth, I got an opportunity to, as I say, to observe what was going on. And I realized that in that time, because we know what is going on in this time, but in that time, it was paradise. And in that time, it was heavenly. Yeah. So even the youth who I met within my community in Jerusalem housing scheme, and the surrounding communities, these young people and youngsters, they were so loving, they were so kind. Even the people in that time, because everyone was their brother's keeper. Yeah. The lady that lived next door or the man that lived next door, we were also their children. Yeah. So in getting that energy, I became a part of that, consciousness, and I said, you know what, I want to expose others to this lifestyle. So even within this time, when I see young people in the city and right across Jamaica, who want to be a part of violent crime and want to be a part of gangs so much and so badly. And when I look and I listen to the news and I see like schools are being locked down, children not getting an opportunity to go to school. I remember when I was in Jonestown. I remember when there was flaring up of violence, and there was like this, mass, police and soldier presence in the community. Yeah, so I can relate to that. Hence, in relating to that, I try my best to relate to the young people today as well. And I also try to send messages to the adults also that they must try to engage and be so much a part of young people, because if it wasn't for the elders within my time, I could have been easily gone astray. So we must never say that young people are incorrigible, but we must always say that they can be encouraged. And with our advice and guidance and direction, the youth can become the best that they want to be and can be.
About that, because all of what you say no and all of what you're saying no, you have actually put in poetry. And there is a poem that I'm remembering as you speak that talk about this time of year when you bake and you share it with the community. I think I have it lined up to but the good old days, man, the good old days. Because see if I have it lined up somewhere around here, so because I just want to give our listeners a taste. For those who don't know, I want to give them a taste of what you've just said a while ago and how you actually put it in poetry.
Rural to urban for the youths, them all are medi, because more want the youths mind for steady.
So in case you've just joined us, you're right inside of the poetry of Richie Innocent. Richard Robinson is his name, and we call him Richie Innocent. In the Hills Me Day, and that's another poem from Hills Me Day from Richie Innocent. So Richie, how did you actually get into the business, and who encouraged you in?
Well, can you hear me loud and clear? Yeah, well, as I speak, it's from my earlier days, being in the inner city, and seeing all the violence that was taking place at the time. But I can remember fondly, walking through the streets, and hearing music being blasted through the jukeboxes, listening to Bob Marley's music, and from that earlier times, I realized that music got a hold on me. I could feel that, that energy going through, and my presence, it was so magnetic. And hence, ever since, I'm not able to let go of music. Music just has this grip on me. And as I say, whenever time I hear the cry of the people, the cry of the masses, I consider myself to be a part of the masses. So I want to use my voice to speak, because I need that level of connection, that level of connectivity, because I believe in unity, I believe in unification, I believe in love.
Well, you started in the business not as a dub poet. So tell us how you started, the genre you started, and how did that impact your becoming a dub poet later on?
Well, I began, as you know, that DJ is our most popular form in terms of the promotion that it gets. So, I was always, I was inspired by early beat from earlier. And then I found myself listening to, Lieutenant Stitchy, Papa San, Professor Nuts, and all those artists. And just the way they presented their music, just the way they were able to tell a story, always a vibes, And, remember Virgin Isle Bash and Fed 'em Up. And I just find myself wanting to be a part of, becoming a DJ. And so, I started to do it at school. I was always doing my thing at school, and the most popular way of our sound system, which is the desk, So they were always beating the desk in school. And I remember the first, when I just went to steps and they wanted to rag me, as a grub man. And what I used to get out of that was my ability to DJ. So I was the special guest, at that grub concert. So it was music from early, that I used. And then I remember I was in my English literature class, and Miss Cornwall, she asked us that if we could interpret a poem that was in a book, but if we could do it in a different way. And I remember this poem called The Ballad of an Older Man. And she said, guess what? She asked us to do it. One of my friend Martin Cole tried to do it. And then it was my turn. And then I started to DJ the poem that was in the poetry book. And Miss Cornwall began dancing.
In the class.
Because it was called The Ballad of an Old Man. So I started, this is the ballad of an old man. This is the ballad of an old man. There was an old woman who never was wed. Of 21 children she brought to bed. She gave them all the poor means that she could afford, and brought them all up in the fear of the Lord. As soon as they grew up, each sailed away. One after the other to the great USA. And the place erupted. So from then, the news got around the school, and everybody, concentrated at my classroom to say, oh, this youngster was DJing the poem.
So you have always had a knack of, or the ability to, mix DJing with poetry from very early.
That was when it began at Steps. That was where it began. I believe because, later I would be dubbed the DJ poet. So that is
the DJ poet. Well, you mentioned people like Lieutenant Stitchy, you mentioned people like Papa San. And we've always known that songwriting originally started as a form of poetry, So, and DJing is also a subgenre of dub poetry, or the other way around. So it is not surprising that you have found a way to mesh the two. So you actually did recordings as a DJ.
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about a few of the ones that you did.
My first recording was done in 1995. It was done for Courtney Cole, for Roof International, because when I graduated from States in 1992, I got an opportunity. Somebody told me that this girl by the name of Lorraine, bless her ever, and she told me that there is a talent show that is held in Ocherius and James Avenue every Tuesday. So I joined it from St. Elizabeth, and I found myself there. And like every week we had to go up and pass Ika Joe at the gates. We have to pay $100 for going in, and I ended up meeting Shaggy Wanda, Nigga Mikey, Jigsy King, Tony Curtis, You know, all of the artists, the Mickey Melody, everyone to name, you know what I mean? And it was then the love that they showed me while I was there. Yeah, that love that I got from there, and then I ended up getting an opportunity to do a song for Courtney Cole. It was called Woy Woy. You know, so my first song that I did, I can always say to myself that even my sons right now, they can sit down and listen to the message, and it is not anything that they can't look at their father and say, yo, you know what I mean, you're trying to instill certain energy and principle within us. You know, like some other people would say that. Yes. You know what I mean? And then I ended up doing songs like, you know, Drugs for Gun. You know,
I remember that one.
For Flavor Squad in 2008. You know, I did on the Addiction Rhythm for Flavor Squad. You know, the producer is now deceased. He was a past student at St. Elizabeth Technical. They know me, soul rest in peace. You know what I mean? And I've done other songs for other people, you know, as well. You know, Ja Life in New York. Yeah. And I have a recording that's called Crime Gets So Bad that I've done for, you know, Jerry Dog as well. He was the engineer at Flavor Squad.
Gets So Bad was a song or is a poem?
To me, you know, it is a mixture. It is a mixture. It is everything. Because it was for over 6 years, I was only doing the spoken word. I wasn't doing anything like DJ or singing. But my fans were always saying to me that, listen, we need something. We need you to just visit us, you know, revisit us with some of those energy. And, you know, I found myself, you know, coming to the States. And during the pandemic, I was there watching the YouTube. And I was seeing all of what was taking place in Jamaica. And I was saying to myself, when did we, you know, reach this stage? You know, when did crime get so bad? Yeah? You know, so I found myself in the studio. I'm not hearing.
Crime Gets So Bad is a poem.
It is a mixture of everything. You know, some just like the artist that you featured just now, and he says the interpretation is with the individual. You know what I mean? Persons are saying it is a song, it is a poem, but you know that the core of it is poetry, but my core is the message. And we have to talk about my brother as well, Brother Wise Words, you know, our collaboration that we have done. We are the warriors.
Time. So let us talk about Crime Gets So Bad, because you're saying that it is it's really left to our interpretation. So let us hear that song, poem, whatever, however you interpret it, and let our listeners decide which it is. So here we go. Another brilliant, I would call it poetry, but another brilliant, whatever it is you call it, from Richie Innocent. So, okay.
It is poetry, you know, Mama Soul. It is poetry, you know, but like I said, you know, we just sprinkle every little thing on it because I am also influenced by, you know, the DJ. So the core of it is poetry. And we just create this vehicle to push the message, and so that the listeners can also travel within this energy, you know what I mean, to make that difference.
There is definitely music, serious music within this one. You know, Crime Gets So Bad. You know, it's actually it's poetry, but if you're going to mix it inside of a music session, you're going to have to mix it with music because music is attached to it. I got you loud and clear. So before we reached here, you were telling us about working very closely with Wise Words because, okay, so you decided to first of all, before we get to Wise Words, when was it and what was that turning point where you decided to go full-fledged into poetry?
Okay, full-fledged. I must make the confession publicly. Yeah? And between me and you, Mama Soul. Yeah. The confession is, the conversation was with myself and Mama Elise Kelly, let me tell the world. Yeah? We were having a conversation. Yeah, and Mama was saying to me that, guess what? You know, I'm getting a energy, especially from the people, yeah, that whenever you speak, it comes across with such energy, yeah? So, you were telling me that, guess what? I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not telling you what not to do, but I believe that you can lend your voice to poetry. And I said to myself, you know what? Let me do it. And I realized that, yeah, whenever time I would speak, I would do my poem, especially good old days. I was always doing good old days whenever time I go to perform, whether it's a dance or a stage show. I had this poem, one poem that I was always doing while I was DJing, and I realized that the people, whenever time I'm presenting it, there would be this silence, this level of calmness, and then the people would erupt when I began speaking about certain points within the poetry. So it was so easy, when you said to me, Mama Elise Kelly, that you know what, you could lend your voice to poetry. So I said to myself, listen, I'm just going to just focus on poetry. So for over 6 to 7 years is what I've been doing.
I remember that conversation very well, and I remember thinking to myself, Richie loves both DJing and poetry. So I'm not going to, decide or even suggest anything to him, because I realized from then, Richie, that you could be doing either one because your passion goes both ways. But let me just say how much you have brought to the poetry table. Because since you have decided to become a poet, you have brought a piece of energy in a poetry, which is exactly what I always thought you could do. So let me just say enough respect to the energy, the clean spirit that you have, the camaraderie, the encouragement of others who do poetry like yourself. You brought it all one whoosh into the poetry fraternity. So congrats for that, and give thanks.
Thank you very much. And I'm elated myself because it's just one unity, and one love. And the art form, it is to express, that which is problematic, and we want to embrace joy as well, and we want that level of unification we should hear me speak of. You know what I mean? So we cannot contradict what we are saying, because like Malachi Smith says, the poets are the conscience of society. You know what I mean? And being the conscience of society, you have to have a clean conscience and a pure heart, yeah? And a positive mind. You can't be one of, what is contrary to what is conscious and good, and say that you are the voice. So hence, we want all of the up and coming poets, the next generation, the new generation, to know that this is the magnet that we want to go forward. We are here for each other. And as you always say, Mama, one for all and all for one. Yeah? This is how we want to function.
And now we can talk about wise words, because you came into the fraternity, you brought an energy of positivity without any doubt, and then there was wise words who was here, brilliant as a poet, and the link came.
Indeed.
And that link, oh my goodness, was heaven sent. Let's talk about that link.
Yeah, brother, wise words, I have nothing to say but good words, you know what I mean? Because you see, wise words is a very good human being. Yeah, and through poetry, when I began doing poetry, this is what really opened the door for me. Because since I began doing it, I've been nominated 4 times for the IRAM Awards, International Reggae Music and World Music Award. And this was how I was also able, to also get an award in New York City. Yeah? You know what I mean? So poetry has been doing so much for me. And I remember I was in Chicago at the time, going for the my first nomination, about 2018. And I remember after the award, I was at the airport, waiting to go fly to New York. And I received a call from Brother Wise Words, and he was like, Richie, how things went, And I said to him, yeah, man, you don't know, it's the icon and legend Muta Baruka that won the award, yeah? And he said, no, everything good, man, you are already a winner. Even for you to be nominated and for you to be in Chicago to represent Jamaica and the spoken word, the art form, you are a winner, And he said to me, listen, that I want us to do a collaboration, yeah? And I said, yes, as soon as I get there, we're going to be doing the collaboration. Yeah. So when I flew back to Jamaica, we were there on the telephone, talking for months on the telephone and vibing, you know what I mean? Until eventually, I found myself with a rhythm track from a virgin called Tafari, but a St. Elizabeth, and we decided that we're going to use that, rhythm, and that is how we ended up in the studio and doing We Are the Warriors.
And that prior to your doing this song, We Are the Warriors, of course, there's always Muta Baruka, there's always Sister Cherry Natural, there's always Sister Jean Breeze, Malachi, and we can go on and on. DYCR, however, correct me if I'm wrong, was one of the only ones that really stepped into the dancehall scene, brought poetry into the dancehall, and the dancehall accepted the fact that him is a poet and we can play him in the dancehall. This one here that yourself and Wise Words did, Where Are the Warriors, became another one that entered the dancehall easily, and the people who were in the dancehall understood this one without any explanation. What was the what do you say the combination created?
Well, it's that combination and collaboration. It created a great appreciation for poetry because I could see it on the street because I'm always in the grassroots, and I could hear, the Ankiat man out there, the man was selling Sky Juice, the man in the bus park, the conductor, you know what I mean? The man who park the bus, load the bus, everyone, we could hear them, singing the words, of Where Are the Warriors. Just like a normal dancehall song out there from any one of those dancehall greats. Yeah? So we realized then that the impact was major because we had several radio personality, who were playing it at the same time. You could go from one station to the next station and you would hear a Richie Innocent and a Wise Words. And we were just in our infancy stage of, being poets. Yeah? So it really created, that energy. And from then, ever since we realized that the people, they have shown us so much love.
We'll go for, again, because we have a little time, Richie, we're just going to whet the appetites of our listeners and just remind them what song, what poem are you talking about?
Hear me and tell us how the warriors them disappear. Aiming to plow far instead of digging out palm.
Wow. So when this one came out with yourself and Wise Words, one of the reasons how I know that this one would take off into the dancehall, because any selector who was playing this one can tell you that when we go out into the streets, the man them in the street would have said to me, say, Mama, tell Richie Innocent and Wise Words, say the warrior them no gone away. We are warrior, Mama. So that automatically just told me that it struck a chord in the street.
Yes, it definitely did, and that is the reason why we were making that call, sounding their bang, saying, with the man them there, with that responsibility, that is bestowed upon us, the role that we should be playing, from the Almighty. We are the men, you know what I mean? We don't want to know, say, the man them within the society who's supposed to be protecting the old lady, the most vulnerable among us, the children, you know what I mean, start to become prey upon them, you know what I mean? So we were making that call, and it was coming deep from our heart and deep from our soul, and we believe in the call that we were making. Where are you? You know what I mean? Because we see the man them just busy put on tights and all of those things and not doing what they should be doing.
Time, because we're going to have to come out at 12:55 pronto. So before we run out of time, so all right, so you were doing a DJing and you were being very successful in poetry, and we've played quite a few. And then I got a song from Richie Innocent called Careful Who You're Defending. So I'm going to ask LaFane in studio to cue up that one for us, because we want the listeners to hear it, and then we're going to ask Richie to tell us what influenced this, should I say, a return to your former love or former passion. All right, so we're going to ask LaFane to play it right now. All right?
You see a man's face, but you don't see her. Set me free, rescue me. You let my conscience set me free.
So actually, Richie is from DJ to poet to singer, because this is a song.
That's what I've been saying to you. That's what I've been saying to you, because I've always.
No, this one is a song. This one is a song.
Yes, I have always had the ability to do all of them. You know what I mean? So it is just the application, and then that came about. Again, I've always been observing what is taking place within my world, within my community space, and we realize that there is a degree of yeah, betrayal that is going on among ourselves. And I don't know if it is with age as I age or it is the age in which we are in, because we find out that persons who should be protecting us, which is our friends or our family, we find out that those are the ones who are betraying us. And we put our neck on the block, yeah, to defend them. And guess what? They would be the ones behind the axe to decapitate us, you know, in a jiffy without even thinking about it.
The lyrics of this song is very potent. What made you decide to do it as a song as opposed to a poem?
It is not even my decision, because how I do music, it is however I get the inspiration, that is how I deliver whatever message comes through me. I am just, you know, I am just a vessel, yeah. And once the creative energy comes to me in that way, this is how I do it, because I'm also the person who, I'm not just going to jump in a studio to say, I want a next tune, I want a hit tune, you know what I mean? Whenever time I am moved by the Most High, that is when I go into the studio.
Okay,
let's just
talk a little bit about it. We have 2 minutes, Richie. So, producer for the song and the rhythm of the song, who is that?
Yeah, man, the producer for this song is none other than Ralston Barrett, Big Ral. Yeah, and it is on Symphony Records, yeah? And it is the Jailhouse rhythm, you know what I mean, which is it's a remake, yeah? And like I said, you know, this is something to, you know, to go out there for the people to know that just be vigilant, because the one who we entrusted for our own safety at times, they are the ones who can become so cruel, you know what I mean? So we just want the people to just go out there as well and just, you know, support the energy, the positive energy.
Our listeners are commenting, and this one is from Empress K, who says she loves it and the words are on point. The words are definitely on point. And also we have a comment from Tanya Nubian, who says, bless up sis, bless up Richie for putting positive material out there, bad poet. So my next question to you is, how is the song doing, and are we going to see a return of the poet?
Well, the poet is still here. The poet hasn't gone anywhere now. The poet is within what we're hearing. Yeah, man, the poet is within, you know, the poet is within the message that I am pushing. So, you know, this moment you may hear me just doing that raw poetry alone, but then there is going to be a mixture, because right now, presently, I recently voiced another material, you know what I mean, for Nigel Burrell. So he's there in the studio, busy doing his thing, and I know that as soon as that comes out, again, the people will also gravitate to it. So we're just giving the people a mixture. And do remember, you know, the one that we did, yeah, with the late great Toots, you know what I mean?
We're love with that one. We're going to
never see the trouble ahead. They never see the trouble ahead. You know, that was also another powerhouse again. And, you know, Toots gave us the opportunity, you know, to lend his voice to the creative art form and to poetry. You know what I mean? And for that, we really appreciate him very much.
Producer.
Even while he's in Zion.
And the young producer also.
And yeah, man, Mr. Burrell, Jamari.
Right.
Yes,
all right.
Man.
So it's you know, so what we're hearing is just the creativity and the freedom of an individual to be who he is. And more of this is coming out, Richie, because a lot of people are refusing to be put in anybody's box. And it is very clear that you are one who is refusing to go in a box because you just want to express yourself generally.
No, we're not going in a box, mama. R.I.P. the fan box. Ashes to ashes, you know?
So wonderful talking to you. Want to say enough respect on this new venture of singing and the journey of starting as a DJ, a dub poet, and for those listening, the poet is still there. We're going to seal off with Never See the Trouble Ahead, getting the opportunity to work again with your Virgin Wise Words, with Toots Hibbert and Richie Innocent. So I know the song that you've just done, Careful Who You're Defending, is going to be doing well, and we just wish you all the best as we seal out with this one. Any words?
Yes, I love. Yeah, man, I want to say, you know, condolences to Brother Idonia in the passing of his son,
Yes,
because
yes.
we know that it is, you know, it is very hurtful in anyone losing a loved one, especially a child.
Exactly.
And whenever time I hear about the death of a child, it hurts me so much. And as soon as I got the news, you know, what I mean, I was literally hurt by it. You know, so we just want to say condolences to Idonia and his family. You know, and may the Most High give you strength within this time.
So say all of us. Once again, thank you, Richie. Continue to work. Continue to work with dignity. Continue to work with, you know, with not only just authority, but with righteousness and creativity. Wonderful talking to you.
Work and integrity.
Yes. There you go.